Hello, this is the 6th of October 2012, one of those mixed bags kind of videos as I'll go over propaganda, voting, schools, and pullbacks. Definitely a mixed bag. So we'll start off with the special on the channel. Get a 1-year subscription to my technical analysis. Subscription features include instant notification updates, which gives strategies for stop losses and gains based on which risk category you choose. Longer and more up-to-date videos, and the cost of the service for a limited time only will be that of a Donny Hill signed Nike t-shirt. Okay, that sounds crazy, and it was designed to be crazy. You don't even know who Donny Hill is or was. At least I hope not. There was a time about 20 plus years ago where I was in Skydome in Toronto watching a game between the California Angels and the Toronto Blue Jays. I happened to be sitting beside the father of Donny Hill, and well, I looked at his face, looked at the Jumbotron, seen the picture of Donny Hill. It was most definitely his father. And because of that, I happen to remember his name my whole life. This player didn't play much baseball in his career, but he did play multiple seasons. Now, the whole point of me saying this is, how do you expect to get this Donny Hill signed Nike t-shirt? You could be what one would call a multi-billionaire, and this would be a challenge to get. And the reason why I say this is because often, if not all the times, somebody's selling something to somebody else, whether it be a product or a service, the price will start off with one of these little symbols, that of dollars. You can count it for any currency, yen, won, whichever you choose. But the question is, how do you go ahead and get it on a tangible level? Do you go out and make your own currencies? We have been told that that would be counterfeit and illegal. Now, in a situation where if, well, say I was charging gold, say 2 grams of gold for something, then you could go out, you go down the river, grab one of those little cans, those little things to get, or pans, I should say, get your own gold, do whatever you can to mine it yourself, which is possible to be done. Same thing again with silver. And maybe I don't want gold or silver. Maybe I'd be charging a pound of cherry tomatoes or an apple pie. These are things that you can make yourself, but dollars, of course, is not one of them. And because dollars are monopolized by central banks, only they are allowed to create it, well, that's why we are in this economic mess we are in. I am not offering a 1-year subscription. I am not planning on changing the way I do these videos as of now. The whole point of me saying this was to use a little quirk, if you will, to explain again more on the fiat currency, which I'll do even further very, very soon. But before that, let's talk about propaganda, because maybe there's propaganda in this video, maybe there's propaganda in other videos. In fact, definitely there will be propaganda in other videos. It's good to know what propaganda is. It is a noun, information, ideas, or rumors deliberately spread widely to help or harm a person, group, movement, institution, nation, etc. The deliberate spreading of such information, rumors, etc. again, and the particular doctrines of principles propagated by an organization or movement. You know, an interesting clue is, or stuff on this is, you can do a YouTube search for 911 clues everyone missed. At that point, maybe, just maybe, you may see some propaganda. I know myself, if I was working for the enemy, if you will, or I don't even want to say enemy, I don't like that. Let's just assume that I noticed there was a couple large buildings, and the directory was to send some planes through this way. I would have a problem telling the media to tell the people that it was jet fuel to cause it to fall at free fall speed. Because I know propaganda has still got to be believable. But oh my, they've got people to believe that. I know myself, I thought, well, wouldn't it make more sense to at least say they placed a bomb in the 3 buildings? That sounds more believable. So the whole key is clear your mind, look at things with an open mind, and then it might be a little bit easier to figure out if it's real or not. Especially motives. Look at motives for why somebody might be saying something as well. We have an election coming up very soon, which is why I got the word vote. The election is in the United States, and the month is for November. It is for the presidential election. We already seen a lot of propaganda regarding Ron Paul from the mainstream media doing the best they can to shut him out, and they pretty much won for their objectives to ensure that he was not in this battle at the end. Vote is defined as, number one, a formal expression of opinion or choice, either positive or negative, made by an individual or body of individuals. The means by which such expression is made, as a ballot, ticket, etc. The right to such expression, i.e. to give women the vote. And it's interesting, when I look at vote, I have noticed that it's majority rule. And that's the way I guess it should be, or the way that it is, majority or enough requirement rule. And therefore, let's take a look at the fiat currency. Is it safe to say that humans have voted to keep this alive? Yes or no? Have they voted to keep this alive? Well, if you look at how things are going with how people work within the expression of their actions, their opinions, and the choices that they make in life, then I would have to say, yeah, enough has decided that they want this fiat currency that is guaranteed to cause debt, thus guaranteed to cause a lot of suffering, but it's what people want. They may not realize, and I don't even think that they realize that they want it, but by complying with their taxes, complying with everything involved within currency, means that that's what their choices are. You're not going to make any different choices upon this by voting either Romney or Obama, because they both support the fiat currency. And that's why you can think, oh, the lesser of two evils. Well, you're voting for the same thing, and that's all that would be. Okay, so that would be enough on the whole vote issue. You know, there's a lot of good schools out there. I'm going to list a whole bunch of them right here. You got Stanford, Texas A&M, Michigan, University of Toronto, Harvard, MIT, Cornell, Florida, UCLA. There's a lot of them. Now, what's interesting about these is every single one of these schools will have a lot of students and a lot of professors that actually love other people and want to see positive changes, meaning they don't just care about gaining fiat currency, even if it means they have to throw their grandmother on the curb. Yeah, that might sound really bad, but it's pretty much the way that this world has been working. And you're really, really smart. So I'm going to start you off with a few questions. If you happen to be a professor at any one of these or any other schools, maybe a student, here's a few questions to get you started. Maybe from this point on, you can figure out how big of a challenge this really is. And, well, that's what school is all about, is taking that challenge. Question number one, what is the definition of a fiat currency? Question number two, are there any countries that have a currency that is not fiat? Number three, what are some effects of interest in a fiat currency? Why is it impossible for debt to be paid back on a macro level? What is technological unemployment? Do you consider this economic model as the best model that humans can run? And if the last answer is no, what solutions can be done to improve the world? Now, you can come up with tests and such, because there's more challenges than that. And I say this because you might want to do a Google search. Get on Google, type in something in the line of GMO tests on rats, maybe add the word France on top of it. And you'll see they've done great tests, but here's the thing. You got powers that be in this world that really don't want to listen to it. Their votes, with the votes of the masses, are set that they don't care. That's what you're going to have to get by. A challenge. Good luck. And one thing that I talk a lot about on this channel is silver. And people ask, well, when is it a good time to buy? Yada, yada, yada. Bottom line is, if one strategy is to wait for a pullback, well then there was a pullback here. After all, it's below this band. And then you get miniature pullbacks from here to here. But here's the thing. You could be at here saying, okay, I want a pullback. Oh, I'm waiting for it to go here. Oh, it didn't do it. Now that'll happen. And then you have a situation, now that you're in here, well, I need the pullback to go down to, we'll say 31.5. It might do it. And it might not, but you just got to keep waiting and waiting and waiting. Of course, if you're using the daily time frame on the long-term level, there's probably something wrong with that. Whereas if you use more longer term, well, then it'd be a little bit of a different story. Let's take a look at silver now on the monthly chart. Let's look for these pullbacks. Okay, you broke this resistance in here. Now you're waiting for a pullback. So you waited at, we'll say somewhere in here. We'll say about 8.25. Goes all the way up to here. Maybe this was your pullback area. Maybe it wasn't. Let's just assume it wasn't. Let's just say your line was right here. Oh, and you just missed it. Doesn't that suck? Okay, so you go up again and you're waiting for the pullback. You got it in here. I don't care where you drew the line, but if you drew it correct, you hit. Because there was no way you would draw your line down here waiting for a pullback here, because that is just plain stupid. However, I would have considered 14 to be the case, right in here. And sometimes when you get a pullback, you could have been later, or it was a little too early. But here's the thing. Is this a bad time to buy? And let's just assume down here you're broke, you can't buy anymore, whatever. And then as it's making new highs, well, I'm glad I bought at 14, one might be saying. Which, of course, is very true. You broke this resistance here back in 2010. So now you're at 21, 22. Okay, I'm going to wait for it to go back to 18 and I'm going to buy. Well, it didn't go back to 18. With very little pullbacks, it went up to 50. Now this was a key level. This is probably the decent spot that you would have bought from, the decent retracement. The first one, 38 was still above the line, so I don't know. And then, of course, definitely at 20. What happens if you're waiting for 20 it doesn't come? Well, the answer is you're going to miss out. So even though you're waiting for a correction on the daily time frame, you're in the midst, and you have been in the midst of a correction for over 1 full year. Let's even go longer term. Let's do 5 times longer than this. Let's do the 5-month chart now. Okay, so you broke past this resistance. You're waiting to buy. Yeah, you can see what didn't happen there. And then you get all the way up to here. Now, I don't know where you would have chosen. If you chose 20, then of course you would have been a little bit too early. Now, whether there be any fundamental analysis to state that it needed to correct for a longer amount of time or a longer amount or a decent more in the price, well, if you would have figured that out, then you would have realized that maybe it was a little too early to be buying. But since this point, what has occurred is it's now back to this high. See, if you look at this on a shorter term level, if you take this high and you're waiting for a pullback, say in here, there's a good little pullback, as would say this in here. The bottom line is this: if it's barely breaking a particular high, it is very common for you to see large gains surge past this level. Which means if you're waiting for a pullback from this high, then this is all correct places to buy, because you're still below the line. You have good information that it's going to go higher, and you might be lucky at best to even come back to that level again, which actually did happen. If we draw a line on that high, I'm going to draw the tiniest line that I can. Okay, that's tiny. This will be tinier. You can see that if, say, for example, you're waiting to break this resistance, well, it didn't make it. Say in here, this is a situation where if you wanted to buy back at this high again, as it was coming back down, maybe you got in, but you probably didn't. And then as we see now, we're still below this high. You've had a little bit of a correction. How much more does it need? Obviously, if it goes down further, if you go below this blue line, yes, you would have a decent sized correction. You also can take a look at this period in here. What I see is a bearish candle, the second to last candles, because it rallied a little bit, but it closed pretty much where it started as. However, when the next candle that follows, which is 5 months ending this month, is where it is at now, ooh, that's giving you warning signs that it may not need any more corrections. But thankfully, as we've seen on the monthly chart, it's still in its correctionary phase, as is this one, because it's still well below this line. Now, as far as gold on the 5-month time frame is concerned, see, that's a much different looking chart now, isn't it? Okay, so you're breaking above here. You want to wait for it to pull back. Goes in here. I'm waiting for a pullback down to here. Oh, it didn't happen. Damn it. I shouldn't have said that. Anyway, I did anyway. And then you go up all the way up here. Okay, I'm waiting for a pullback. Well, obviously, getting here, 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 any of this is where the buying came into play, or at least the pullback was set. Now we've went up without really any pullbacks whatsoever. In fact, the only pullbacks that you're getting thus far is in here, maybe here, and then currently. Keyword, currently. So with that being said, it's probably safe to say that this at some point is going to have a correctionary phase that will probably at least get it back to this 18 average band. Trying to time the whens can be very difficult. For example, you're saying back in here, I'm going to wait for it to have a decent sized correction, and it never does. That could very easily be the case in here again. And that's it for today's video, and I'd like to thank you for tuning in. Bye-bye.